Hello all, thanks again for joining us. My name is Robert Benkove. I'm one of the automation specialists for Turtle & Hughes. Today's topic will be on data logging methods. Our guest presenters today are Troy Menino, Turtle Specialist and Bin Manager Guru, and Peter Kaprielian, Chief Technology Officer with SyTech XLReporter. But before we begin, I would like to inform you of another event coming up. We'll be hosting an Automation Vendor Day barbecue here at our Hauppauge, New York branch, Thursday, August 12th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. where we have in person past and future Talk Tech with Turtle presenters and vendors such as Prosoft, Linmont Motion, Apex Gearbox, HMS E1, and more. And of course, Allen Bradley Products and some Turtle automation specialists will be present as well. Please contact me if you would like to attend and bring any coworkers you may feel may benefit from a good old-fashioned barbecue. Plus, I'm trying to beat my previous record of over 100 hamburgers and hot dogs prepared in 2 hours, so I hope you all can attend. Okay then, with that, let's get started. Hello, gentlemen. Thanks for putting on the presentation together. Please introduce yourselves. Troy, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to this edition of Tech Talk with Turtle. We've got an action-packed agenda for you today, all about data collection and XLReporter, two subjects that go hand in hand. My name is Troy Menino. I'm the process automation specialist at Turtle. Also on the line today is Peter from SyTech. Peter is a founder and chief technology officer at SyTech. He has many years of industry experience and can certainly help you with all your reporting needs. So Peter, I'll hand it over to you if you want to briefly introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Turtle and Hughes, for inviting us on this Tech Talk. My name's Peter Kaprielian, technical officer at SyTech. And as Roy said, what is the point of collecting data if you can't do anything with it? And hopefully in this presentation, we're going to show you that there are a lot of things you can do with collected data. Over to you, Roy.
Thanks, Peter. So if anybody has any questions, as Robert said, feel free to post them in the chat box and we will do our best to get those answered as we go along. To get things started, here's the session agenda for today. I will give an overview of data collection, why it's important, and some of the methods that you can use to collect data. And these will include solutions native to Rockwell's HMI products, FactoryTalk Historian, and partner products from HMS Networks and Prosoft. I'll give you some additional resources and links, so if you would like a copy of this presentation, I'm happy to provide that. All of that should take about 15 minutes, and then I'll hand it over to Peter for the remainder of the session to talk about XLReporter from SyTech. XLReporter is an award-winning reporting software, but it's much more than just reports. So Peter will discuss how you can really unlock the value of your data and meet all of your reporting needs with XLReporter. Let's first discuss why you may need data collection, and then ultimately what you want to do with the data, because that's what really matters. Data by itself may do you no good. When you can leverage that data and put it in context in order to make better decisions about your process or your machine, that's when you can get real value out of your data. Perhaps you want to improve quality or throughput with methods like lean manufacturing and Six Sigma. Maybe you want OEE reports. Trending data can be useful for troubleshooting or preventative maintenance. You may work in a regulated industry where certain reports are required and data must be archived for a certain period of time. Or perhaps you have third-party or homegrown analytics solutions that you want to apply to your data. Maybe you want to use historical data to build predictive models with Logix AI and your ControlLogix controllers. These are just a few of the important reasons you may want or need data collection. And you will see that there are some options based on your application. So now I want to go through some of those data collection methods and talk about where you might use them. Let's start with data collection native to the Rockwell HMI solutions like FactoryTalk View SE, which allows you to collect and store tag values to an internal file set or an ODBC compliant database. And typically it means it's logging to a SQL database. And there is an editor tool in FactoryTalk View Studio, which allows you to configure how and where you want to store that data, what actions trigger logging data, and what tags you want to log. A single data log model can log data for up to 10,000 tags at runtime, and you can have 20 of those data log models running simultaneously on each View SE server at runtime. You can even use commands and macros within FactoryTalk View SE to allow your operators to start and stop data logging at runtime. That data can all be viewed in trends or used in reports, perhaps for XLReporter. FactoryTalk View Machine Edition, which can run on a panel view or PC, can also natively log data on a smaller scale. One data log model can run at a time with a max of 100 tags. If you're using View Machine Edition version 7 or higher, you can store up to 1 million data points. The minimum scan rate is 10 milliseconds, but really you should only collect at the slowest rate you need for each point. That data can all be stored on a runtime computer, another computer on the network, or a compact flash or SD card or USB storage device. Again, within FactoryTalk View Studio, there's an editor where you can specify things like how many data points to store, the triggers for logging, the storage location, and which tags you want to log. And you can easily view all of this log data in trends or in Excel. And I should also note there's an ActiveX control called Data Store Plus, which provides some additional capability and capacity for logging data. And it includes better file management and customization on how data should be labeled. Now let's shift gears to FactoryTalk Historian. And the question often arises whether a server-based application should use the data logging native to FactoryTalk View SE, so basically logging to SQL, or a FactoryTalk Historian. And this slide nicely encapsulates why you should use a historian and not a relational database like SQL for your long-term time series data storage. Historian takes the raw data with lots of data points and applies these exception and compression algorithms in order to greatly reduce the number of points that have to be stored, yet it still accurately represents the data. So Historian optimizes that data storage and retrieval. Let's say you want to do some trending. Well, if you try to retrieve a year's worth of process data for a tag that's being collected every second, that's almost 32 million data points. With SQL, you might as well go get coffee while you wait because it has to pull every single data point. Historian, because it can condense that data, is much more efficient at this. There's also high availability historian architectures, which can virtually eliminate data loss. So if you really want to be able to quickly dig into long-term historical data for troubleshooting or maintenance or analytics, then Historian is the robust solution that you need. You could think of Historian as providing this base layer or this data archive for all your devices in an optimized fashion for anything that you want to layer on top of it. That could be the functionality native to Historian that can help you contextualize your data, or any of the higher level software for visualization or reporting or analytics. Perhaps you want to use ThingWorx to create data mashups from multiple sources of data, or you want to run your Historian data through Logix AI to find out the confidence of your predictive models. So the Historian serves as the data archive for all of your device and process data. And there is also a chassis-based Historian module called FactoryTalk Historian Machine Edition, which is for the ControlLogix family. This is a 2 GB module, about 75% of which is available for data storage. The rest just hosts that Historian application. The module fits in that 1756 ControlLogix chassis. Oftentimes, these modules are used as local data storage within a plant, and then the module forwards that data to a Historian server located on site. You can connect up to 4 controllers to each of these modules and have a max of 2 modules per chassis. The module can store up to 2,500 events per second. So for reference, at that rate, the module would be full after about 14 hours. So you can understand why that data would often be transferred to a full FactoryTalk Historian SE server. There is a web interface used for configuring this, and it is a supported data source for the ViewSE Trend Pro tool, so you can trend this data as well. The last 2 data collection methods that I want to discuss are partner products from HMS Networks and Prosoft. Shown here is the E1 Flexi 205 from HMS Networks. This device provides remote VPN access to a network or to your PLCs from for remote monitoring or machine maintenance. Importantly, it also allows for data collection in the cloud. You can store up to 1 million timestamp data points in the cloud, and that data is accessible through the data mailbox service of Talk2M, which is the cloud interface for E1. And that data can then be published to other platforms via OPC or other protocols, or be used to create these web-based dashboards or reports for your KPIs. And that E1 Flexi can also publish data to XLReporter, which Peter may touch on. The last method for today is the Data Logger Plus from Prosoft, which is ideal for remote sites with limited communications, where you may want some local data collection. This module can collect data from up to 4 controllers with a max tag count of 200. And in total, the module can store over 16 million timestamp records. There is an integrated web server for trending the data. And because the solution supports the REST API, it's relatively easy for IT folks to get that data into their systems, which is often important. The solution can also be used with Prosoft's remote connectivity solutions. Perhaps you want to pair the data logger at a remote site with a cellular gateway to access that data remotely over a cellular connection. And this Data Logger Plus can also be used to publish data to XLReporter. Here are some additional resources on these solutions. I'm happy to send you this presentation by request if you want these resources in one place. Something you may want to check out are these solution briefs from SyTech that talk about how to connect XLReporter to any of the data sources that we discussed. Here's my email address if you would like to contact me. I'm always happy to discuss your application or dig into any of these solutions further. But at this point, I want to hand it over to Peter to discuss XLReporter. And what you will see is that XLReporter can access the data from any of the sources we just discussed. And once that data is connected, you can use the report templates from SyTech to create your own reports to help you make better decisions about your process. And so with that, I'll stop sharing and I will turn it over to Peter. Take it away, Peter.
Yes, thank you, Roy. I've got some feedback somewhere. Is that you, Roy? Troy? Okay, good. So, good morning again. As Roy said, there's a number of methods to collect data. And today, I'm going to go over and see what we can do with that data. First, who is SyTech? We've been around for over 25 years. We're based here in Massachusetts. We're a Rockwell technology partner, and through that, we have strong relationships with Turtle and Hughes. Today, we're going to talk about XLReporter, our flagship reporting product, version 14.1. Before we do that, let's just see XLReporter in action. And here are some industries where you can find XLReporter, more notably water treatment facilities. If you have an Excel spreadsheet and you basically want to use it as is, XLReporter is an ideal tool because you can import that into XLReporter without touch-up. That's exactly what we did here. This is a state report that you can find on almost all states publish their compliance reports on the state's website. You can download it, import it, and then the only challenge is where do I get the data from and where do I put it on the workbook as well. XLReporter is probably the only product right now that's built on the Open XML standard, which allows users to use all the workbook technology they've learned over the years, like charts, formulas, formatting. Anything that you can do in Excel, you probably can do in XLReporter and vice versa. In wastewater treatment, we need to have an element of manual data entry, which XLReporter offers. In manufacturing, we have dashboarding. In energy management, we want to monitor the peaks of when energy is consumed so that we might be able to conserve some costs by consuming that energy at other times. In food and beverage, we have this clean in place report, which monitors the cleaning process of the pipework. In operations, we have dashboards. This one was the 13-page report where 12 of the pages represented each month, and this was the annual roundup. Machine effectiveness is another one of those items that people strive for because it's one of those reports that can strive for improvement. Gives you the idea of when your machines were available, how much performance you can get out of them and how much more you can increase your quality. It all goes down to what they call an OEE score. If you're taking your alarms out of your FactoryTalk system and putting them into the FactoryTalk alarms and events, think about creating reports from there because alarms are an indicator of the health of the process. Think of it as the lights on your car dashboard. If the lights are flashing, there's something wrong. Well, our alarm management module also gives you those flashing lights. As you can see here, there's quite a number of, and we'll touch on what all this is in a moment. We also deal with batch management. You know, not all processes are continuous. Sometimes you need a report that starts from the beginning of a lot number to the end of a lot number, or between a machine cycle, during the machine cycle. More dashboards, more compliance. You can see it's an endless list of requirements. So if you're familiar with the workbook technology, which most engineers are, they use it on a daily basis, you're probably going to get really familiar with XLReporter out of the box. And by the way, a lot of the templates I've just shown you there are within the product, so you can use them right out of the box. So this Austrian business consultant said, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And as Troy has already shown, we can measure a lot of data. And I'm just going to do a quick recap. And this is the simplest architecture of XLReporter, where the data we're measuring is right out of the PLC, and we're capturing it through OPC or FactoryTalk links. We can capture that data over a period of time, and once the report is built up, we can distribute it automatically as well. A very, very simple architecture. OEMs may treat this as the architecture of choice because it really doesn't add very much to the bottom line. Somebody that's thinking about going into reporting and data collection may want to sort of experiment the concept with this very, very simple solution. But most people will go and use our FactoryTalk View SE data agent, and this supports versions 10 and above, to give them access to the live data directly, as well as historical data. And these file sets are file sets that can be built inside FactoryTalk View SE. It's actually the native files, not the ones Troy showed you, but they're Troy talked about the ODBC. This is a complementary to that, which is a bit more native to SE. We have access to that because we built this View SE data agent in collaboration with Rockwell, so that we can get access to this proprietary file format. The other thing it gives us is access to the historian SE as well. So that's really nice because a individual that does not have FactoryTalk View SE would need to buy this additional piece of middleware from Rockwell. Moving on, these are the Troy data logs that go to the SQL server, and then these are the ME files which can run on a desktop or in a panel view. Then we have the FactoryTalk alarms. And finally, we got IoT. This is all about accessing data remotely, by and large. But in the Prosoft case, you can use the controller for local data collection, a little similar to the ME chassis solution, except that its data is contained within here and accessible from there as well. So that's the big picture. So how can we get to this improvement stage now that we've identified our data sources? Well, the journey starts by creating a template, and we have a standalone workbook development environment. No sooner did we come out with this, but our hardcore Excel users said, because many years ago we were very Excel centric, they said, well, why can't we continue developing in Excel? So we added our studio as a plugin to Excel as well. By and large, most users use the standalone because it does not require a deployed version of Office. So it keeps the cost down. Is this cost saving by not deploying Office? This is completely standalone. Once we've got this template configured with our data sources attached, then the next thought is, am I going to produce a report from this automatically or on demand? If it's automatic, then we have a built-in scheduler that can run on time or events. If it's on demand, we have clients which can open up this template and drive it by putting in input parameters like a start time, an end time, alarm thresholds, or tags. The product also has scheduled tasks beyond reporting. What we mean by that is that it can, for instance, simply do file management for you. If you created automatic reporting and you're producing a report, say, every day, maybe after a couple of years, you want to zip up files and move them over to an archive somewhere. Or it might be you want to automatically distribute, and we provide 3 formats. So from the template you created, you can choose. Do you want to deploy the solution or your report as a workbook, a PDF file, or as a web? More so, you can email it out to people, FTP and print. The idea here is that we've got this raw data from the process. We've condensed it down into meaningful metrics, and now we've got to get it visible to people, or it's still not useful. Now, sometimes it's compliance, so the report will just sit in the background, and only in the case of an audit will it need to be brought to the surface. The features of XLReporter are pretty modern. Office XML, this use of this library, avoid using Microsoft Office. And like I said, I think we're one of the few companies that uses this technology. It's taken us a long time, but we recognized a few years ago that having Office on the shop floor was not a good idea, just by looking at the way Microsoft was taking their product. So we originally started with COM objects, and that did still require a copy of Office to be installed. But now we've moved over to this Office XML, best decision we've ever done. And Office is not required. And we can truly multi-user now. We can do what FactoryTalk View SE says. We can be a truly distributed solution where we have multiple users all requiring their own reports from their Windows clients or their web clients. We don't impose any limits, no artificial limits. It's one price, it's perpetual, it's not a subscription model. No scripting, no programming. Users have always asked me, do I need to cut and paste my tag names out of, VueSC and put them in a report? The answer is no. Every one of the connectors we have built-in tag browsers. So we know how to grab the tags out of the data source and we bring them up for you to pick and choose. We give you templates out of the box, and we also give you libraries of templates which are self-configured. So it asks you a few simple questions, like if you're picking the OEE template, it will say, okay, what is the availability tag? What is the performance tag? You choose them, and we go and create the template all fully configured up. Responsive web reports. So if we're going up into the web world, we really want the user experience to be desktop and mobile views. In other words, we want to see the same report in different ways. If you're really interested in seeing this, go to our website, and from the home page, we have a link to an external facing web portal. Typically, this would be used in the house, behind the firewall, for people on the intranet. SPC dashboards, 21 CFR Part 11 features like version control, electronic signatures. And then we also have managed data entry. So here's an example of a operator round. The operator had to go around filling this piece of paper. What we suggested is they convert that to an electronic form, as you can see, using XLReporter, and then the operator can go around with this Windows tablet, and as they're filling out the data is being pushed back to a backend database and being used as another source of data. Another use case of this was very recently, and it was working with Turtle and Hughes, that the user wanted a form creating every time a critical alarm occurred in the process. And we've got a very elegant solution to that as well. Start small and grow. And this is important because widespread, not all users need the same requirement. We have people that just want to get data from live data, build simple reports. We call that the standard edition. It gives them 60 days of support, or it might be they want to grab data from the historian as well. Add in the database for your alarms and events, and then we have the distributed solution that has 5 clients, Windows or web. For those of you thinking here, the clients are concurrent, so 5 users can be using the XLReporter at any one time. One notable feature of the web is that the web portal does not need to be a server class machine. In fact, when you go and use our web public-facing web portal on our web, from our website, it actually bounces to a Windows 10 box, which really does not have a very large footprint. So let's talk about each of these interfaces in turn in the context of a use case. So here we have live data, XLReporter, either going directly through OPC or through the FactoryTalk services to live data. And there's no database, there's no historian, we're not doing any data logging, it's all report as you run technology. What does that mean? We're going to capture data directly to the report. So the users created this template, and now what we're doing is we're populating it every day. And then at the end of the week, we start a brand new report. It's simple, it's elegant. It is what it is. It doesn't give you analytics. It doesn't give you on-demand reporting. It's simply solving an immediate need. You can give it custom report names, say that every week we start a brand new name, and we can give PLC a handshake or a heartbeat. A use case of this would be like a clean in place report, where we're going to go and grab data from this piece of machinery and build up a report. So the first thing we'd want to do is wait for a signal from the PLC that the cycle has started. And that causes XLReporter to add in the header to the report. So what we're doing here is we're building this report over a period of time, first the header, and then while we see the in progress event, we build in the data, and then we add in a summary at the end cycle event, all working right off your PLC data. Let's move to the file sets. These are the ME file sets, and I'm going to show you these file sets in context with the panel view. So what we have here is we have the PLC being fed into the panel view. As Troy said, what we have here is the Data Store Plus, and it's the Data Store Plus that's continuously or on batch logging data inside the terminal. Now, it can't do that forever because this has got a certain limitation in memory. So what happens is you set this up to create files periodically, and XLReporter automatically moves those files over to the PC for processing. So every day, let's say we're creating files every day, then every day XLReporter goes out and visits every panel view system in the facility and says, what new files do you have available? Now, if that connectivity is not available, the user can quite easily put all those files on a thumb drive SD card and move those files over manually, maybe once a week or once a day. Once the information is here, it is lots of CSV files, but what XLReporter does is it stitches across the files. What that means is that from a user's perspective, they don't see that as individual files anymore. They see that as a continuous flow of data, so they can ask for data from anywhere to anywhere, and we can go and grab that for them. That could be raw data, but it can also be analytics like min, max, and average. What makes this even more interesting is I can go and I can enable the web component on the panel view, and now I can look back at the XLReporter station at those reports directly on the panel view terminal. We have nice videos on this subject. We also have data sheets. Let's talk about the historian. Now with historian, the first thing that comes to your mind is the FactoryTalk Historian SE, which is true, but we treat all these interfaces as historians. And what I mean by that is that not only are you going to be able to grab the raw data from all these interfaces, but you're also going to be able to grab KPIs and metrics. Now we're reporting directly from those data sources. Historian in loose terms, because this could be the DAT files, this could be the FactoryTalk View SE SQL Server. This could even be the CSV files from the panel view. From all those interfaces, we can provide not only raw data, but we can turn that raw data into information. Give me hourly maximums over the day. Give me the min max of these tags for each day of the month. Calculate this information over this batch. Give me the on and off counts or the on duration, because I'm thinking about an OEE report, which needs that as part of its calculation. Also, with a historian, you have now the ability to give the user a Windows or web client so that they can start drilling into the report and making their own decisions. You see, with the scheduler running in the background, there isn't much flexibility as to the content. It's going to schedule what you've told it to schedule. But with this, the user can go in and they can choose some tags. They can choose dates, alarm thresholds, and refresh the report and see the result of all those parameters. You can explore this at XLReporter.net. Here's a use case. We're going to do OEE reporting. So what we do is we run this template every hour to calculate the scores. You remember I said that OEE boils down to a score? And we use mainly workbook formula, concept of workbooks. But the twist to this was we push those values, the scores, to a PLC, which in turn drop those values onto message boards. Now what I'm seeing is users actually driving big monitors instead of these message boards, because monitors have really become cheap, and they use our viewer, which is a standalone web viewer on those monitors, and they put it in refresh mode and see these OEE scores. Let's turn to XLReporter for alarms. So what we've done here is we've configured our alarms to go into a SQL Server database. You can do that. It's FactoryTalk VOSC. But what we want to do now is analyze those reports. Now, you could do some simple SQL queries. I won't go into how you do that, but that's going to give you at least some information. But you can use our ISA 18.2 module, which can take all those alarms in the alarms database and mash them up into 12 KPIs. And it's those 12 KPIs that have been recommended by the ISA as a way of monitoring your alarm system. Let me just take one of them so we can talk about it. Top 10 contribution. What this is telling me is that 70% of the alarm activity over this time period was due to 10 alarms. Think about how much improvement you can give to your system just by going and searching out those 10 alarms, which XLReporter is going to tell you. So from this, you can pick up your 10 alarms. Unfortunately, this screenshot didn't agree with the first, but we also give you other information like the distribution of the alarms over each day. And then for the worst day, which was the 14th, the peak was at 4 to 5 o'clock. So now this gives us some really solid information as to, well, what took place during that time. Other things that we will give you, which I don't have slides for, are chattering, fleeting, flood, all the information that the ISA recommends. Why do you do this? You're trying to make the operator not be complacent to alarms. You're trying to make the operator respond to alarms because they become real. If an operator gets flooded with alarms constantly, like anybody else, they'll become complacent. Let's turn to XLReporter for remote data access. Last few slides, we're going to talk about the HMS E1 and the Prosoft. They both work very similar. They're out in the field somewhere. There's some cloud somewhere. And then we've got XLReporter that's trying to create reports from these devices. There is an exception to this where the Prosoft can be brought to a local system. So it might be a water facility, and they put the Prosoft data loggers each of the pump stations for local logging, and it's all working on the intranet. Let's turn to E1 first. So here we have the E1 out on the field. And through the Talk to M, as Troy mentioned, we can go and we can grab two types of data. We can grab the historical data that the E1's been collecting, or we can drive right through and grab the live data. So if you recall live reporting before, that we can go and grab things, report as you run, you can do a similar sort of thing with the E1 here, where you can just go and grab a value every day. Maybe you're doing all the calculations in the PLC and you just want something to go out there and grab the values as they are and put them in a report. If it's beyond that, maybe you want to create some historical data and alarm data from the PLC, then you can use that and go through the data manager as Troy described. Similar sort of setup for the Prosoft. The data now is being collected in here. So the cloud here is only serving as a gateway to the data. Again, if this was on the intranet, on the local, you would not need any of this intermediate architecture. You could just read directly from here. XLReporter, again, knows how to read all this information and produce reports from. This is all treated as history data, so the analytics still holds. A quick example, an animal feed manufacturer, they had sites across the USA. And what they wanted to do is drive all their data to a central location. They wanted to visualize equipment utilization and alarms. Install the cloud, drive data to the cloud, and then XLReporter, understanding a REST API, automatically drags all that information down to their central office, from where it creates reports, and it could email them out to all the individuals at each of the facilities, or they can use it at their Boston headquarters for diagnostic purposes. Other applications that I've seen is proactive maintenance. Yeah, a machine builder could put this equipment on every one of their machines for maintenance purposes, or it might be that you want to put this equipment out there for troubleshooting. Because the devices are not that expensive, and certainly Hugh's can help you with that, they are a great little module to have, if you are a machine builder on every one of your machines. Going back to the animal feed manufacturer, this was the end result, where we converted all the production values into usage and showed them on an XLReporter dashboard running in a web page. Finally, XLReporter, the web portal. We call this the team server, but the word server shouldn't put you off because it's not a server class machine, Windows 10 and above. If you want to put a server class machine, it just runs even better. The only thing you've done here is enabled IIS to deliver responsive reports to different mobile devices, desktops, and so on. If you want to deliver to mobile devices, you're going to need to buy some sort of radio, wireless radio. Again, Tidal Hughes can help you on that choice as well. How to get started, go to our website. It's downloadable. Set up connectors. If you don't, we have simulators, review the documentation, and if all else fails, contact us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Peter.
So as everybody can see, XLReporter is a powerful reporting solution, and it's very flexible in where the data can come from and in how that data is presented. So please feel free to reach out to me if you want to discuss data collection or XLReporter in more detail. We're happy to discuss your particular application. Now I'll just turn it over to Robert for some closing words.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for your time. Our next presentation of Talk Tech with Turtle will be on August 5th, again from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. The subject matter will be on what's new from Rockwell and Allen Bradley. To find out more details on upcoming events and view our past recordings, please visit turtle.com and be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Do a search for Talk Tech with Turtle, where our last presentation in under 2 weeks has over 500 views. Also, do not forget the barbecue event on August 12th here at our Hop Hog, New York branch. And if you're interested in attending that, please let me know. If you're also interested in more AB training, check out again the Turtle and Hughes website for upcoming dates and locations for AB Rockwell training seminars. In addition, I'll be posting dates shortly for in-person training presented by me and other Turtle and Hughes automation specialists coming to a location near you. So look out for that. Thanks again to our presenters, Troy and Peter. Great job. And to all of you for taking your time out of your day to join us with Talk Tech with Turtle. So with that, have a great day and an even better weekend, and we'll see you on the next Talk Tech with Turtle. Bye, guys.